question, next question, next question. Hello and welcome to Next Question. I'm Caleb Fogarty. Today's guest is a local junior from Sydney's West whose name is synonymous with the Bankstown Bruins. From his early days on the court to wiping floors for the Western Sydney Razorbacks, basketball has always been in his blood. A graduate of the AIS, he made his NBL debut with the Gold Coast Blaze in 2010, going on to play over 424 games in the league. He's also represented Australia on the international stage, winning gold at both the Commonwealth Games and the FIBA Asia Cup. Basketball runs deep in his family. His mum represented the Opals at the 1984 Olympics, while his dad played for the Boomers at the 1976 Olympics and later coached the Opals from 1986 to 1992. Recently, he concluded his 15-year NBL career with the Adelaide 36ers and has just announced his return to the Lair, committing to the Bankstown Bruins for the 2025 NBL1 East season. Please welcome to the show, Jason Cadee.
Thanks for having me.
Jason, we're all very excited. The NBL1 East is a buzz. You returning to the Bankstown Bruins, what brought this on? Was this always going to happen?
No, it definitely, if you had have asked me up until 4 to 6 weeks ago, I had no idea where or what I was going to do or where I was going to be. And it's just all been brought about basically by me retiring and going to work for Step One. That's been kind of in the background for a little while for me now. And being a part of that company has been something I've been doing as a kind of just a part-time thing separate to basketball. But it got to the point where I was kind of like, maybe I am done in the NBL and maybe it is time. I felt like I maybe needed a change. And after speaking with Greg Taylor, who's the CEO and founder, he kind of said, mate, we'd love to have you full-time with us now. I think it's about time. So that kind of preempted the retirement from the NBL. And obviously being back in Sydney, just having a chance to keep playing a little bit when I can, it made so much sense for me to return back to Bankstown. So it's a pretty cool moment for me.
I'd love to know, what is your earliest memories representing the Bruins? Because you've played it all through your junior years.
There's a lot. I'd say your memory starts to go a little bit when you get older, but it goes back to just even the junior days. Like, I just remember running around in Bankstown even earlier than that, like when my dad was playing Masters on a Saturday, there'd be no one at the stadium in the afternoon, and me and a couple of mates have got the hoops down low and running up and down playing 1-on-1 or 2-on-2. And so it's memories like that. And then obviously through my whole junior career, a lot of those people at the time, kids I played with, I still have somewhat of a relationship with, especially when you see them and you get to catch up. So it's one of those things of, because I was there my whole junior career, it was such that group and people that were there at that time was such a close-knit family almost. And so I still have so many great relationships with a lot of people there as I came through the junior ranks.
Your family is well entrenched in the Bankstown Bruins community. You grew up in a basketball family. I'm sure your father really cherished showing you the ropes, playing basketball, showing you basketball. How do you feel now that you're in a position where you're back in this Bankstown Bruins community and you get to share that with your kids?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things with it. I just knew, once again, retiring from the NBL is a pretty big decision, and I'm not broken, I guess, where my body can't handle it. So for me, there's a lot of me that still wanted to be able to run around still and still do that. But then there's the other side of me that's really excited that I can be a part of that and be around the juniors and show up on Sunday sometimes to rep games, or show up on Tuesday nights to trainings and just be there. It was one of the things that they did well with back then. The ABA players are always around. And so if I can be that kind of person to a lot of kids and try and help wherever I can, and even if just I don't see myself in this light, but even if just people seeing me there does something, I think that's really a cool thing for a lot of the kids to have. And I'm also very excited by that.
Last time we saw you in the blue and white, Jason, it was the 2016 grand final against the Sydney Comets. What do you remember from that season? It was a very heavy Bankstown Bruins junior foundation, that team. What can you tell us about that?
The year before, I was playing for Sydney, obviously. We went and watched the finals, and I feel like Bankstown made the top four the year before but got bombed out. Or we were watching the women. I can't really remember too well, but I remember we went to a pub for dinner after the grand final, and it was me, Clint Reed, Stevie Markovic, Alex Opicic, Greg Barnes, like a whole heap of Bankstown juniors and some that had played at a higher level. And we kind of said, I go, what about if we just all played together? Like, what about if we all rolled up one year? And then, like, it was a bit of a joke. And then next minute, the year after, we did that. For that to happen and actually, like, everyone knows how hard that is to actually pull off. It's like, yeah, never happens. So for that to actually go on and then us go along and win it, and it was a pretty sporadic year. I think we ended up only just making the finals because I was away, Stevie was away, there was a bit happening, but we snuck into finals maybe in sixth spot or whatever it was, and then ended up winning the whole thing. So for me, it was one of those moments that Bankstown hadn't won for a period of time. I want to say like over 20 years, and if they did it, maybe not even was the ABA Championship then or the Waratah. And so for some of those guys that have been around all those years, like your Greg Barnes and people like that, like for me, that was what was special. There's so many people that were attached to that who had never won. So whilst I myself got to experience winning, I was really happy for those that had been around and been involved with the club for such a long period of time to also be able to say they won, and you walk in the stadium, there's a banner hanging up.
When you put pen to paper for the Bruins, did those kind of memories all kind of flash through your mind as that pen was hitting the paper almost?
I'd love to say yes, but I've had that much going on in my life right now that it was kind of just one of those things I needed to get done and get out of the way. But in saying that, the process of me thinking about doing it, and as I said, I was trying to square away some other things that were probably of the more premium importance in terms of looking after my family and what I was going to do for work. But the decision to go back to Bankstown, when it became a realistic thing, it definitely hit home because it's where I'm from, it's where I grew up. I took our Adelaide boys, we shot around there on game day before we played the Kings. And so walking in there with all of them, it just brings back so many memories. So I think once I get back to Sydney and I actually go down and train and we play at Bankstown, that's when memories will come flooding back, just because I've had so many times where I've walked out on that basketball court and either just been shooting or playing.
Now, the Bruins, they've grown in the last couple of years in terms of quality on the court. The men's division, in 2023, they were 13th with 4 wins. Last year, they jumped to 8th with 11 wins with the addition of Coach Sardi on the sideline. Obviously, you coming into the team now, expectations are going to be a little bit higher than what they were before you when you weren't signed. Where do you see this Bruins season?
I don't know, but given the fact that they did well last year under Curtis to get back to the top 8 and go down to Albury, where I watched bits of that game where they were pretty competitive for most of the game. I think that the biggest thing that I've always taken pride in when I play in the NBL1 is that I have the ability to make everyone else better. So I don't care about my stuff. If I score 20, 30, whatever, I want to make sure that everyone else feels like they can play above what they normally do. So for me, given that most of that crew is back, I just know that I'm going to make people's lives easier. And then obviously whatever I do on top of that is a bonus for us as a group. But I'm looking forward to it. I've heard good things about the group they've already got there. And I think for us, given off what they did last year, it'd be silly not to say, well, how do we push and get in that top 4 and set ourselves up for finals?
So we did touch on it before. So the last time you were in the league, 2016, Waratah League. Have you watched the East from afar during your time? You've been in the North, obviously. What has been what have you thought about the growth of the NBL1 East in particular? Because the NBL1 is just going gangbusters right now.
Yeah, it is all over the country. And I obviously always keep tabs of different leagues. Like I always check on where just friends or family that I've got playing. And so Bankstown specifically, I always do keep track of what's going on and who's there and what's happening. It's easier now to keep track of too, just because of how good the NBL1 coverage is. So for me, I just think that the league is just growing because of that exposure and because of the NBL1 conferences. It's just giving more people a chance, and it's so easy to be able to get your phone and go on and watch a game. And so that's the part where I think it's expanding. And I think for some of these clubs in New South Wales, they've been such big clubs for so long that now they're starting to experience, okay, how do we tie NBL1 into what our club looks like? And so I think that's the exciting part for me, and hopefully I can be part of that growth even further this year.
So looking back to your NBL career, I just wondered for a sec, Jason. So you 424 games. That's a heck of a career. Congratulations on that. I would love to know, what 100-game stretch do you think you learnt the most? So was it 0 to 100 rookie Jason Cadee? Was it 300 to 400 vet Cadee? Was there a certain stretch of 100 games you think that you were like, you feel like you picked up a lot of stuff?
Depends what stage you're asking that I wanted to learn for. I think definitely the last 100 games, I learned a lot about what I would do if I was coaching and things that I would put in place. Probably the first 100 though is the biggest learning, no matter what. Just because once you're in that world and you're in that environment every day, it's a completely different world to what you're used to. So that first 100, it was me learning everything from what guys do, what some guys do, what others don't do, where do I fit into that, and so you kind of get to figure out what your path forward is. And yeah, I just feel very honoured and grateful to play that many games and play that many years. Yeah, in a league that I grew up idolising.
Mate, listening to the game on Sunday against Southeast Melbourne, one thing that came very apparent to me, and of course you played 424 games, it's apparent through the majority of your career, is your leadership. The commentary team continued to touch on the leadership you've shown throughout your career. I'd love to know what you see. What are the core values that make a great leader in sports?
There's all types of different leaders. The one thing I learned off Andre Lamanis when I was under him, you don't have to be the prototypical yelling, negative, calling everyone out. Like, there's all different types. The biggest thing for me was being able to be yourself. I think when you're authentic and yourself, that carries a lot of weight throughout the group. So my biggest thing is I believe that I've always been purely unselfish for the betterment of the group. Even though it was sacrificing my own spot, my own minutes, I genuinely would do always what was best for the group. So I could always speak on things without a selfish bias to being like, oh yeah, we should do this more, but that means I play more. That was never ever my approach. And I felt like every group I've been a part of understood that I was genuinely just trying to help things as a group and push things forward. And then obviously you mix in, like, mum and dad. I've been around the game so long. I've learnt so much of so many different people that are truly great minds of the game. And so being able to incorporate both and being able to talk to people on different levels. Some people pick things up like that. Some people need to hear it in a different way. And so I've just really learnt how to, I guess, people manage and understand people and what they need at certain times. And I think that goes a long way to transferring the leadership parts that I've learnt throughout my time playing.
Now, you've gone all over the place, really. You've gone Sydney Kings, you've got everywhere, Adelaide now currently. I'd love to know, plenty of different jerseys, Australian Boomers. Is there a particular jersey that means the most to you over the stretch of your career?
All of them. They all represent something. I will say, like, I didn't grow up, obviously everyone knows my relationship with the Sydney Razorbacks as a kid, so I didn't grow up liking the Kings at all. But being able to play for Sydney, where I grew up, it was one of those places where I combined becoming this professional athlete and where I grew up. So going to schools and doing promos, it was like I'd been around all these places before just because that was where I grew up. So being in Sydney and having that definitely had a bigger part just because it was where I grew up.
And then I just want to reflect on this final season, the Adelaide 36ers. You've, again, 424 games. I'm sure there was plenty of situations you have come across. This season in particular, the 36ers, you had turbulence at the start of the year with the coaching change. You had a bunch of big signings from Harrell to Kendrick Davis to being the runner-up MVP, and then just how 36ers would go. Sometimes you'd look like you'd be the best team in the league, and then the playoffs might have not been in the equation. I just would love to know what you thought of this final season at the 36ers.
Yeah, we had a roller coaster of a year, and you kind of just summed it up. At times we were the best team in the comp, and at times we were the worst team in the comp. Our floor and our drop-off from our top to our bottom was too much, and I think that's why we ended up getting bundled out in that game. You basically seen in one game what our whole season was. Very, very talented group, some very good people, some very good players. We just weren't able to bring it together for long enough stretches. And I think that was an exciting thing for a lot of people to watch because you always didn't know what you were going to get. But for us, it just was a shame that we couldn't do that for long stretches of time, because I do believe if we were able to, we could have maybe done something special. But that's what happens, and that's what professional sports is all about.
What was going through your mind once that final hooter went at John Cain Arena on Sunday?
A lot of different things, to be honest. I was sad. I was happy. It was just one of those things where all these things come rushing to you and you don't really know how to control it. I was very lucky that some of those guys on the floor are people I've been around for a long time in different ways. And so I said this something the other day. I just remember Glove grabbing me and almost holding me. And then he said some really cool things to me at that time. And then obviously Sobes and DJ and Sunday were right off the back of him. It was just a lot happening. My partner Jazz and my littlest one were in the crowd. So there was just a lot of different emotions. Yeah, I was sad. I was happy, all of it. I'm still trying to process it. But deep down when I sit back, I'm starting to, I guess, also appreciate what I've been able to do myself. And it's hard to give yourself credit, but I am trying to do that.
And then to wrap it up, mate, I'd love to know what's your ultimate highlight of your career?
It's the blase answer, but all of it. I just to be able to go through a car accident the way I did, then come back and play 15 years. I missed a total of, I think, 3 games through injury, which was a concussion. So my whole career, I missed 1 game with a broken finger, in Adelaide. I was able to get on the floor and be basically there to be called upon every night. I got to represent Australia at different camps, different tours. Got to win the gold medal at the Com Games and Asia Cup, like just all of it in one. Even like things like winning a title with Bankstown, with Gold Coast, with the Brisbane Capitals, like all those different things. I just blend them all together because they're all great experiences, and it's just stuff that I've learnt from throughout that kind of 15 to 18 years of playing.
Jason Cadee, congratulations on a big career, and can't wait to see you on an NBL1 East court.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.